everybody, I'm David Asman. Thanks for joining us. Kicking off tonight is President Obama winning. Now, we think the president has a scoreboard at the White House. Let's call it the change scoreboard, and it looks pretty impressive right now. Look at all the major bills that he's managed to get out of Congress over the last year and a half. These are just 5, by the way, adding up to over $1 trillion. He's got many more, and of course, he calls all these wins. The mainstream media calls them wins. Nancy Pelosi calls them wins, and they all pat themselves on the back for their winning season. But winning inside the Beltway with a stacked Congress and a fawning press isn't the toughest thing to do, and it doesn't translate into a win outside the Beltway where you are. Now look at the president's approval numbers. They dove just as he began to pile up his wins. The more bills the president signed into law, the more unpopular he became. Clearly, the public doesn't define success by the number of new bills the president signs into law. Taxpayers know that for each new bill, there is a cost, a financial cost to the taxpayer and a cost to all of our freedoms. Now, we're all worried that these new laws make government much bigger than it should be, that they cost much more than we have, and probably most scary of all, that they are really going to change the way we live our lives. Yes, America. This is the change President Obama was talking about. And we're beginning to believe that he cares more about the change than he does about whether you actually like the change. And he and Speaker Pelosi think he'll kind of grow into it. We even wonder if he actually cares more about the change than he does about getting reelected. Certainly, he doesn't seem to care much about the Democratic Congress getting reelected. They're the ones who are going to have to pay the price this November for rubber stamping the change. Of course, as a president who doesn't have any problems throwing his allies under the bus, just ask Van Jones or Shirley Sherrod, it really appears that more than loyalty, more than public approval, more even than reelection, what matters most to this president is his change scoreboard. And according to this scoreboard, he is a winner. Is that really how they see things inside the Beltway? Well, let's bring in somebody from inside the Beltway. Congressman Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio. And Jim, you always try to keep one foot outside of the Beltway, but is that the way you think the Obama administration is thinking of these things?
Well, I mean, David, you said it right. The American people get it. This administration thinks they believe in government. They believe in expanding government. They think government's the answer, and they like the power that that gives them if, in fact, they expand government. But you're right. The American people understand it. They know that all this spending, all this regulation, all this so-called stimulus, all it's done is add to the deficit and increase the national debt that our kids and our grandkids, and frankly, we're going to have to pay
Jim,
back.
does it matter? Does it matter at all to the people who are getting these so-called wins that the public approval rating is going down for them, whether they're Nancy Pelosi, whether they're President Obama? Does that enter into the conversation at all?
Well, it does some. I think you're right. I don't know that it does for the president. I think he's so committed to a big government left-wing agenda, I don't know that it matters to him. But it certainly matters to Democrat members of Congress who are up for re-election here in about 100 days. So it does matter to them, and that's why you're seeing not much else happen here the last few weeks of this session. That's why you're going to see us take a 6.5-week August recess, more than an August recess. So yeah, it does matter to some members, but you're right. This president, it's all about expanding the scope, the size of government. And I mean, think about it. If big government spending, big government taxes, big government regulation, if that was going to get us out of this mess, we'd have been out of it a long time ago because that's all they're doing. So it just reaffirms this idea that that's what they're committed to doing, no matter what it does to their poll numbers. They want to expand the size of government.
Here's the problem we have now. Here's the problem we have now is that we're in this mess, that these bills that have been signed into law, it's not just theoretical anymore. They're the law of the land. It's not only the trillions of dollars that we're going in debt to pay for. I mean, that's bad enough, the fact that we don't have the money to pay for these things. It's the fact that our lives are going to change as a result of these things, and reversing these things, if we don't like them, because they are going to fundamentally change the way we live, is going to be very, very difficult. We are stuck with these laws for decades.
Well, I mean, Dave, we got an election coming up here in a few months. I think it's going to change. I think Republicans are going to be in control. And then it's incumbent upon us, if we win, which I think we will, to do what we told the voters we were going to do. Come in here and actually balance the budget. Come in here and cut taxes, not raise them. Come in here and fight to repeal health care. We've got, and that will be the big test.
But Congressman, you know what?
Make sure our team does what we told the voters we're going to do when they elect us this fall. I know you walk the walk, and that's why we love to have you on. You not only talk, you walk the walk, but not all your Republican colleagues do. Frankly, some of the blue dog Democrats are more consistent than some of the weak-kneed Republicans who spend money. And some of these Republicans, the weak-kneers that I'm talking about, are pretty high up there, like John Boehner and everything, who had a chance. David.
By the way, hold on a second. Let me just put out about John Boehner, because we like to name names here. John Boehner had a chance to replace a Republican member of the Appropriations Committee with Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake is he's against all kind of pork. He's against earmarks. Instead of putting Flake in there, he put in a porker from down south. Now, it's that kind of attitude that I worry about from outside the Beltway. You say things will change in November. They may not.
Well, remember what's going to happen, though, in November, David. There's going to be 50, maybe 60 new members come to Congress. And these guys aren't going to be, you know, Mikey Milquetoast. These guys are going to be tough. They're going to come because they will have run on a platform saying, look, I'm coming to Washington to change this place. Enough of the same old, same old. It's time to change it because the country is at stake. Our kids' future, our grandkids' future, the nation itself is at stake. So they're going to come with the right attitude, and they're going to come here and say, look, let's do what we told the voters we were going to do. And the American people get it. That's why we saw what happened last August and has carried through for this past year with the Tea Party phenomena and everything else. The people understand what's at stake, and I think you're going to see a huge change this November.
Well, I hope you're right. Whether they're Republicans or Democrats, I hope they really acknowledge that there's a need to change. Unfortunately, they didn't seem to. Now, finally, the last point, very quickly, because we got to go, but do you think that the president cares more about his change agenda, his change scoreboard, as we call it here, than he does about getting reelected?
It sure seems that way, David. I mean, let me give you just one stat that came out today from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. When you exclude postal workers, census workers, and the United States military, since President Obama has been in office, 158,000 new federal employees, 158,000 new bureaucrats. Wow. Now, do you think that's really helping the business climate? Do you think that's really helping businesses get back and hire folks and expand our economy and create jobs? That's what he's committed to. So it sure seems that that's his approach, regardless of what it means for his poll number.
That's an amazing. I hadn't heard that number before. And every one of those jobs, of course, is taken away from the private sector by a factor of 5, because that's how much these jobs cost as compared to those in the private sector. Jim Jordan, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much for being here.
David.
So have Americans had enough with the president's change agenda? Let's bring in our panel. Amelia Antonetti, CEO